match or getting your tables pulled up now. I have Olivier Busquet with me today, who was a heads up sit and go specialist. But do you want to give a little intro of yourself?
Yeah, hold on one second. I just thought I'd mute this. There we go. Yeah, what's up, guys? I used to play some heads up. I still play a little cash. I have an idea of what's going on. I'll try to, I don't know, try not to say too many stupid things.
Just making sure the tables. Okay, so I got the tables up. You got your tables up on the right sides.
Yeah, I got them up.
Cool. Just have to figure out how to pop out chat. No matter how many times I do Twitch, I always have to like figure it out again.
We got an interesting pot here, actually. 3-bet, and then he picked a large size on the Ace King X board. Makes a lot of sense, you know. He's got the big nut combo advantage.
There's the chat. Okay. All right, so we also have a frequently asked questions button now, so you guys can see we pretty much got asked the same thing 5,000 times, so much that Mike Brady finally got bullied into making a FAQ. So you guys can check it out. But yeah, any questions not answered there, we'll try to answer as best we can in the chat. But if we're not getting to your questions, just tweet at us. Easier to follow.
Jamie, do you know how to turn the sound off on the actual website settings?
Yes. Give me 1 second. It's driving you crazy?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be constant. If I can do it easily, I just want to.
Yeah. Yeah, so go to settings.
Yeah.
In the top. It is game settings.
Yeah.
And then game display. And there's a play sound effects button, and you could just unclick it.
There we go. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it says my audio is really low. I have a fancy microphone today and it sucks. I'll change back to computer audio if it doesn't improve at all. We are streaming through Discord and a potato apparently. And they'll have the current results up there as soon as possible. Right now, Doug is stuck 155K after 7 sessions, and they're about 3K hands through. So they'll do their best to do an update throughout the day also, but you guys know it's not going to be completely accurate because they auto retop to 40K. It's hard to follow that action. There you guys go. So I don't know how many of you guys watched yesterday's session. I watched a replay later, and it was just a complete thrashing. I think Daniel had the best hand about 95% of the time. It was just brutal to watch, and I think Doug lost 222K in one day. Wow.
That was interesting. Daniel just flatted there with the flush. I mean, I guess, you know, double paired board, but I think it's a pretty straightforward raise. Daniel's been doing a lot of, I haven't really watched much, but I've seen that Daniel's been just like not raising or betting that thin, right?
Yeah, he has been playing pretty snug. And I know there have been a few times that value bets have been missed on the river. I'm assuming it's because Doug's pretty relentless on rivers where, you know, it's really hard to make a thin value bet when you're just getting raised such a high frequency. But
yeah, but isn't Doug also calling down really light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is, I think he has been playing snug. I don't have like enough experience to be like, man, what a nit.
Yeah. I mean, I think even that spot with the flush on the river is like, you just gotta, like to that bet size, you just gotta raise. But it's hard to make flushes. 4-bet.
I'm going to hand it to you for a minute, Liv, because I got to fix my mic. Chat's getting mad.
Sure. Interesting hand here. I don't know how to refer to the tables. Banca got a 4-bet pot. Ooh, the 4-bet calls. Those are the best. Those are the best pots.
All right. I turned up my mic a whole lot. Hopefully that is good for you guys. Let me know if any change. All right, Casper says a lot better. Thank you. Yeah, guys, let me know. I'm not hearing what you're hearing, obviously, so I have no idea if the volume's okay.
We got 4-bet call, check, small bet call, 30K pot, 25K behind. Really favorable flop for the 4-bet range, but once it goes bet call, I mean, still favorable, but much less so. And there's a lot that missed here.
Juicy Baffle says Ryan was in pain commenting yesterday. Poor guy's always commentating when Doug is losing. Yeah, Ryan is obviously a huge Doug supporter, one of his best friends, and does not like Daniel very much. So I think the 3 times Fees has commentated, Daniel has crushed, so that's pretty painful.
I mean, it's fun though. At least Daniel's making it competitive. I mean, obviously he's winning. It'd be so much better than if Doug was just crushing. I mean, from an entertainment point of view.
For you don't have your whole life roll on this match.
True. That's true.
Did you end up getting action? I saw that you were
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah, a little bit, but not nearly as much as I was trying to. I was such a fish in the way I went about it. I was really silly. I didn't even know when it started. Like I was like, oh shit, it started already. Oh, it was too late.
You actually might be able to get some action now, especially now that Daniel's ahead. You get some people who don't realize a few buy-ins is not a lot, and maybe get a better chance now.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I feel like Doug has been playing in a way that I'm not sure I fully agree with. To be honest, I'm sure Doug will still win, but I would have taken a very different approach against Daniel.
What would yours look like?
I wouldn't be betting so big on the rivers. Like I think Daniel is like under defending flops, under defending turns, and so he's getting to the river with a stronger range. And like your overbet on the river is targeting the kind of medium strength made hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Daniel doesn't get to the river with that many of those hands, and so you can bet a lot smaller, and I think bet a much higher, like lower your value threshold and put some pressure on Daniel, in just like on a different portion of his range. I don't know. I mean, Doug's obviously better than me, but I feel like I played Daniel a little bit, and I would not have taken this type of strategy, but yeah.
Oh, interesting. When did you play Negreanu last?
Like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, he's just obviously he's just real passive, and his just frequencies are low. And I think one of the things Doug's struggling with is the fact that Daniel's not betting very thinly, right? And so because of that, like maybe counterintuitively, there's some spots in which you kind of really want to call Daniel super light because like it's very easy to overbluff if you're not value betting thinly enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so the real kind of operating mechanic is like how often is he also bluffing? And if he's really just not bluffing much, then you can just overfold a lot.
Gotcha.
And I mean, spots are different and complex, but I think, yeah, I don't know. I would just try to be exploiting Daniel like a lot more than Doug seems to be. But like you said, it's 3,000 hands, and I think Daniel's run pretty good.
Did you just jump in the heads up streets because Daniel was preparing for this match, or have you been playing some heads up cash lately?
No, I always play heads up cash. I wasn't playing. I haven't played that much on WSOP because like
Mm-hmm.
with COVID, the New Jersey action has just been so good. And then New Jersey action went down a little bit, and I was like, all right, let me just let me put some money on WSOP and just play there a bit. And I mean, there's some good players there, so like
Hmm.
I don't play there as much, and New Jersey's just so good, man. The New Jersey only sites are so good. But yeah, no, heads up cat. I'm always playing heads up, especially in New Jersey when there aren't that many regs. Sometimes you just get heads up action just because there aren't enough people to fill
Hmm.
games, or people aren't willing to. Like a lot of the regs are pretty weak, so if the game isn't really good, they don't join.
Gotcha.
And I played Doug a little bit too, and I was just like, it was just a different world, you know.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you have a really unique perspective then, having played both of them. Were you
Yeah,
expecting Doug to come in and crush, having played both of them?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I didn't play either of them that much. I played
Hmm.
them like a couple hours, like one or two tables. But um, yeah, I mean, Daniel just plays a bit more like a lower stakes reg, and Doug plays like a higher stakes reg. You know, it's like Doug is
Okay.
just puts a ton of pressure. He's really sticky, um, and he's just tough. Daniel's just much lower variance, and just going for many fewer
Hmm.
spots, and I think it's just easier to grind down. But like I said, I didn't play either one that much, and I would assume that like one of Daniel's like will be improving like relative to Doug
Hmm.
more so because he's going to have really good help breaking down like what he's doing and in what context. Like if Daniel were to be playing different guys every day, I think it would be very, very hard for him. But just focusing in on one guy who himself doesn't seem to be making such big adjustments, at least so far. I mean, I haven't watched that much, but that's the impression I get.
Hmm.
Um, that like yeah, if you have somebody really good looking at what's going on, they can help you. Um, there was one thing Daniel said in an interview that I heard that I thought was interesting, which was to like um, he was asked how he was going to combat this overbet strategy. And he was like, well, there's two ways of looking at it, right? One way is that the overbets are really tough to play against
Hmm.
because they put so much pressure. He's like, but another way to look at it is when somebody bets like 50x the pot, you know, you just look down at your hand. It's like, if you have the nuts, you call. If you don't, you fold,
Yeah.
right? And the idea, and I think that's a smart idea. The idea is that like when somebody bets really big, you don't have to defend as much of your range.
Hmm.
And so I think if your inclination is to fold, then when somebody bets super big against you, they're kind of playing into your hands. Now, obviously, it depends how many bluffs they're putting in there, what their distribution is.
Hmm.
But it's sometimes it's hard to find a lot of like that many bluffs in spots. And if Daniel's already playing pretty tight throughout the rest of the hand, he's just going to get to the river with a number of good hands, and so he can just call or mostly call those hands, or if they're good enough to raise with, but
Hmm.
just kind of defend with that narrower range. And it's like I said, I mean,
Yeah.
it's playing into his hands a little bit, I think, but he
Hmm.
did just win a huge pot with ace jack. So
Yeah, that huge pot went, just a single raised pot turned into a 53K pot. And Doug went for three streets of value. It's just that he made a standard C bet on Jack 9, 3, 2 diamonds with ace jack. Then went for the overbet turn and overbet river when it ran out 4-4. Obviously, we don't get to see Daniel's hand, which is a bummer. But huge pot for Doug. Definitely, that would have been, I think, the biggest pot he won all day yesterday. So
sick, yeah. And that's
a
obviously the
good
flip side.
start.
That's the flip side of this strategy, right? Is that like,
Hmm.
when you get the right types of setups, you absolutely print and you win massive pots.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's very easy for this to switch pretty seriously in the other direction.
They're asking, what do we think D-Negs had? That looked like a good top pair kind of hand, right? For if he's going to be calling an overbet on the turn and an overbet on the river. Um, Obviously, a lot of draws miss on a board like that, such a connected board with a flush draw. So it could be a light call, but it could also just have been a cooler, like a king jack, queen jack situation. What do you think?
Yeah. That's what I would assume. Yeah, Daniel doesn't seem to be super interested in making like big hero calls against
Hmm.
massive bets. So yeah, probably just something like that.
Chat wants to know, why is there a stream tonight? This is basically a bonus stream. They had been trying to average 4 days a week. I think the regular schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they're trying to add a day somewhere in there. And today's that day. So it's just a bonus day. Hopefully, for me, who has my life roll on Doug, it's not another minus 222K day.
Did you
We
really
laughed
bet
so
that? Did you really
comfortably.
bet that much on this, Jamie?
I have an uncomfortable amount. It's the biggest bet I've ever made in my life by 2 times.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, so I believe in Doug. I've been friends with Doug a long time and knew how hard he was working. And yeah, I don't know. I believe in Doug. He doesn't fail at stuff. Like anything he does, he puts his whole entire self into it, including his YouTube channels. Like when he got into crypto, he was like the best crypto channel. I just don't see him fail, so I don't know. I might be
No,
towards, but
I
I
don't
feel
think
good about the bet.
I think it makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, I was happy to bet on Doug too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys, if there's tech issues. I have checked and rechecked and tested everything. It sounded great until the stream started, and now they say it sounds like I'm talking from a submarine. So I don't really know what to do about it, though.
Daniel just flatted with Ace King. Did you see that?
I'm sorry, I was reading chat for a second. What was the hand?
Daniel just flatted and open with Ace King off.
He has been doing some weird stuff like that. So yesterday, one of the biggest pots they played, Daniel just flatted a raise pre-flop
Queens,
with
right?
queens.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that hand. I saw that hand.
I thought
But
it was a
that
misclick, but I guess it's not.
no, definitely not. Man, that's wild. That's wild to do that. That's wild. The thing is that this is the thing that I find particularly interesting, which is that, um, uh, you know, clearly Daniel's working with some really good people,
Hmm.
and so I can't imagine he's doing something and they're like, "Stop doing it," and he's like, "No." So I assume there's some sort of like he's being granted some kind of blessing from somebody good, saying, "Yeah, that this is good, or you should do this, or it's fine to
Hmm.
do this, or whatever." And I mean, I assume it's connected to Doug's overbet strategy, right? Is
I
in
think
single
that's.
race pots, if you can
Mhm.
get if you just have some of these really big hands that you otherwise shouldn't have, that's not in Doug Sims or he's not expecting you to have, then he's going to be bluffing into a different range or into some just bigger hands than he's expecting.
Yeah,
Especially if Doug is leveraging some of this, like this, you know, these specific situations where it's like
mhm.
he can't have this hand, right? He cannot have Ace King. He can't have two queens, right? Because he would three bet those hands, and so I'm going even more overboard or more excessive into those spots. And when he does have those hands, they print.
For
I assume
sure.
that's
I
part
think
of it.
something interesting with that though is like let's say that is an adjustment to Doug's play and that Doug just blasts through hands and he overbets and it's a way for Daniel to get full value from hands like queens and ace king where maybe he would normally three bet it and c bet and be done with the hand. What is that going to do to the rest of his range though? Like what kind of effect is that gonna have on how Doug's gonna have to play against him? Like that seems like making an adjustment that huge is going to have like ripple effects on the rest of your strategy and your opponents, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't three bet as much because you're taking
Mhm.
some of your best three bet hands, taking it out of the three bet range. And I'm sure he's doing some sort of mix.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure he's not always flatting ace king or queens. That was an interesting hand too, where Doug had a straight on the turn and Daniel bet pretty big, and Doug just flatted, which is another thing that I would be much less likely to do against Daniel. Like because like part of the reason you flatten spots like that is to trap and to let people continue to bluff, right? But if Daniel is under bluffing, then
Mhm.
and undergoing for river value, then you want to like really get as much money in on the turn in those spots. So I would be like tilting my check raise range towards more value and almost never trapping, you know,
Mhm.
because it's just like, oh, okay, he's gonna under bluff. Like I can just fold the river or whatever. Or I just he's not gonna bluff the river enough, so I'm not gonna get as much value from my nutted hands.
Mhm.
So I don't know. That's what. But you know, sometimes you can obviously go overboard with exploits, and people can counter exploit, and you got to be careful. And that's like Doug's. I think one of Doug's main things is that he just tries to ignore all of the like magic in poker. You know,
Yeah.
read exploit. He's just like fuck that. He's like I'm just gonna do my thing, do what I think theoretically makes sense, and then
Mhm.
good luck. Good luck to you to beat that.
Yeah, anytime I've talked to him about poker, he's just laughed at any time where I'm like, "Well, this guy was really tight, so I did this." He's like, "Shut up." Like, just try to play as close to optimal as possible, and obviously heads up is different. You're gonna make way more adjustments to your opponent, but in general, he's a big believer in just having a balanced strategy and not over adjusting, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think that leaves quite a bit of money on the table depending on the games that you're playing in. And if
Mhm.
you're Doug and your goal is to become the best heads-up player in the world, that you're moving up the stakes, playing the best players, challenging the best guys, yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But if you're
Mhm.
fucking going to the local casino and playing
Yeah.
510, like, it's I don't, and also it's based on your ability to like accurately mimic computer strategies, right? If you're really really good at that, you've done a ton of studying and you can approximate in some reasonable way, cool. But most people
Mm.
can't, so their attempts at trying are going to fail. um, anyway, there's a big pot here on Cape Breton. I wish we could run the counterfactual and see how this match would have gone down if Doug just did not study at all. That would have been really really interesting. I think there's a
I think
chance
that would be
Doug would have absolutely massacred Daniel by even more.
if it had just gone straight from like, we hate each other, we're playing right now. It would have
Yeah.
been probably a massacre, yeah, with no solvers. I think Doug kind of rose to the top before the solver era, and he even beat Sauce at head. Like he beat a lot of really good players. I agree with that. I think that would have been a really cool match, especially having money on Doug.
That would have been interesting. D-Nex with the fucking big bet here. This was what was this? How do we get to 4K? Or just 3-bet and then bet? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. The 7 is very good for Doug relative to Daniel here.
Oh, Smash makes a good point. Yeah, like trying to, if we were living in a multiverse and we could have the cards be reversed and see how it came out, that would be really cool too. And
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
Matt Waxman, his poker company is called Poker Rhythm, I think, has that. It's basically you play 4 iterations of the same hands your teammates do. So it's 4 different tables, and someone on your team gets dealt the same hands versus the other people. So and then you combine results. So there's no like running bad really. It's cool.
That's what I
Wow.
mean, man. You can't call that. You can't call that against it. I mean, like whatever. I mean, there's a lot of flush draws and stuff.
Wow. All right. So huge, huge pot going DNEG's way on the table on the right.
It's a well played hand by Daniel. I mean, it's a well played hand, but it's a shitty spot for Doug. Yeah. Yeah. Especially the fact that he has nines. It's just like
Mhm.
you have a lot less out. It's like the perfect, like if you could have one hand, one realistic hand.
Man, there's a lot more blood in the streets than I thought there would be. And it's just because like over betting is such a part of the game now. It didn't used to be. So some of the pots that you would expect to be, maybe to be a 20K pot have been like 80 and 90K pots because they get so bloated on the turn and river.
I mean that pot was a great example, man. He's just like throwing in the whatever 3/4 pot bet on the flop, and then the turn jam is like, yeah, that's a different people will play that hand very differently, and that's credit to Daniel too, right? Because a lot of people are saying Daniel's not getting value, and he's like betting either too small or not thin enough, but like that's a spot where he gets absolute max value. That's a well played hand for sure.
There are some DNEG fans. This is the Upswing channel. People get a little upset when we're clearly rooting for Doug, but it is the Upswing Twitch channel. Tough to be completely objective here.
It's hard to follow the games and the chat. I'm not good
It's
at that.
really this is probably the most challenging commentary I've had to do, because you do want to like interact with people when they're asking really good questions, and then they get very upset if you miss a big hand. So it's like kind of tough.
Yeah, but then you have good questions like what's an upswing? So like that's important. That's an important question too.
And young man speeding gets caught on the left table. Daniel just, man, he's making a lot of good hands. So there was a graph posted on Twitter showing that for all in equity, Daniel's running really bad, right? This is 2 sessions ago. Someone went through all the hands. He was running about 4 buy-ins under EV
200K, yeah,
at
right.
all
I
in.
saw that. Yep.
Yeah, but when you look at card distribution, I don't think it's even close. I feel like Daniel's been getting dealt better hands and flopping well. So I'm not really sure how you go about making a graph for something like that. It just that's the feeling I'm getting watching it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like it's the same kind of thing on like if you use poker software, poker tracker or something like that. It's like you get one metric, you get like one variance stat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're like, does that mean I'm running good or bad? And it's like sometimes you're like all in EV is like really good, but you can just
Yeah.
feel it. You're just like, oh man, I'm just things are not going well, whatever, and the reverse
Mhm.
too. And that's it's just like it's just one metric.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a big pot here. When you say left and right, which one is your left?
The 7-7-3 queen board is the one
All
on
right,
the
that's
left
the
for
left.
me.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Sorry, I'm looking at what they put on the stream.
Yeah, okay. No, I just have it on my own. It's like I have up and down, but I get it
Oh,
now.
okay.
I got you. I got you. Is that on the mic? I think I have that on my mic.
All right. I'm gonna take a 2-minute break. Is that cool, Liv, to try to mess with my mic a little bit?
Yeah, Doug just won a 70K pot, but yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Call that hand. I'll be right back.
Yeah, let's just go over that hand one more time. What just happened there? So, yeah, no, I thought I could have the replay too, but I was one hand too late too. Oh well. Well, Doug made a flush, and Daniel went for thin value with his trips and didn't get it. He ran into a bigger hand. That's why Daniel checks back some of these big hands. You know what I mean? Because sometimes they just have they river a flush on the, it's like, man,
Mhm.
Daniel's like, yo, I shouldn't go for this value. All right, let's see what's up with this chat. Chat, you got something good to say? What's up, guys? The Golden Blazer asked a question about the depth of stacks and who that favors, and I think, yeah, very clearly that favors Doug. I would say, yeah. The Poker Pro asked if I would do a heads-up challenge against either of these guys. Yeah, I might do one against Daniel, but not at these stakes. This is a bit above my pay grade. But we could do more reasonable stakes with a side bet or something.
I have messed with every single setting, so it's very frustrating because we tested it and it sounded fine. I have no idea why going on Twitch just sabotages my mic every time.
Oh damn! How did Daniel get to 100K? I missed that. Man, it's so easy to miss stuff. Do you respect Daniel as an MTT player still? Absolutely. Respect Daniel in all ways, poker related. Yeah, Daniel's no joke. Daniel is an incredibly talented guy and works at his game and cares a lot. And yeah, man, I respect Daniel a lot. I mean, I think Daniel's proving himself to be a good heads up player too. I mean, maybe not in the elite category, but like, why would he be? Like, it's a very tough category to be in, even for people who work at it all the time. Do I still play? Yeah, I play all the time. I play almost every day. I live in Jersey. I grind the Jersey sites, and I play on this site some too, but more on the Jersey sites. I play cash, basically only cash. No tournaments, no singles. They just don't run. They run in Jersey. All right, we got a 3-bet pot here. Ace 10-8. Doug's doing a lot of checking in these 3-bet pots. Like, it's become so much more complicated when you start to check a lot. Maybe it's a slightly higher EV play, but it really complicates the game tree. Maybe he wants to complicate the game tree against Daniel, but There's a bunch of spots where you can like capture most of the EV by just betting small and betting most, if not all, your range.
Let me mute this. Sorry, Liv.
What? You're
I'll be
good.
back in 1 minute. They're gonna
You're
troubleshoot
good.
for me, so
You're
I'll just
good. You're
mute
good.
real quick. Thanks.
Have I played on Stars PA? No, I have not played on Stars PA yet, but I'm really hoping with new president, new Department of Justice, PA will combine with New Jersey, and we will play on one big liquidity share market. That would be sweet. Are you guys on a delay? Is this a delay? It's really close. Okay. Liv B, is BB Sick the end boss of New Jersey? It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. He's clearly working a lot at his game. He's getting very good. I don't know what his win rate is. I don't know how much money he makes, but he's definitely one of the best guys. He's not fun to play, I tell you that. My name on WSOP jersey is Theseus, Theseus. Will Dan Coleman ever come back? No, not to the poker world. Definitely not. He is over it. Are you friends with Doug? Okay. All right, maybe we should focus on some of this poker, huh, guys? We got some big stacks in the house. Somebody doubles or wins some pots. We could get some big pots in here.
All right. I'm back. Hopefully it works.
I mean, you can understand you completely. So you're fine.
Okay. The chat likes your podcast. I actually just started listening to it. I listened to the half the first episode. Very interesting. Are you planning to just do them when you feel like inspired to, or do you have a schedule?
Yes. No, just randomly when I feel like it. I'm not very good at scheduling it. And it probably would help me to have somebody being like, you need to do this, but
I think they're better when you just do them when you have a guest you really want to talk to, or like a topic. Because I do one that's weekly, and some of them are like I really like doing it, and then other ones it's like pulling teeth when you just don't have a lot to cover. Nothing happens in poker sometimes.
yeah, and also like I have like my producer who is amazing is like he's gotten some additional work, so I think I might have lost him. So I'm trying to find somebody else. So that's been a delay too. But yeah, it's been fun to do. I really like it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Nightbot timed out someone for using the crouton. Do you see it in the chat? There's a crouton emote that Run It Up made for me.
That's so cute. Where is it?
It is so cute. It got timed out, so it might just disappear.
How do you even use the emote?
If you go to the bottom where you would send a message, there's a little face, and that's where all of them are.
Where's the crouton one?
Wow, Golden Blaze said get wrecked crouton. Ban him. I don't think it's in this channel. It was in the Run It Up channel.
Okay. Oh.
So you got a raise on the table on the left.
Yeah, I saw that. Do we know how action went before?
I can replay it after the hand's over. Gotta jump on that. The replayer is so funny. You have to like get it in 1 second.
You just one hand. Yeah.
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 Yep, it was a single raise pot by D-Negs. Check call by Doug. Doug bet out 750, got raised. And then check bet on the river, and Daniel takes it down.
I cannot move that cursor now. I don't know.
Turtle Shell asks, am I more or less confident in a Doug win now than when he started? Well, I would say less, only because I think Daniel showed up in much better shape to play than I thought he was going to. I thought a month was just not good enough to get up to speed. So not as good, but I still have faith in Doug. Still happy to have money on him. I was just hoping Daniel would be doing some dumb shit.
I mean, also at this point, I mean, it's clear that like Daniel's run better, right? I mean, even if Daniel's only a 2-to-1 dog, or even if they're even, Daniel's winning. So clearly,
Yeah.
clearly running good so far. So that's definitely not good for the Doug betting side. But I agree, Daniel's played, I think, better than most people would have expected.
Golden Blazer says live betting odds are about the same as at the start. So, I mean, the betting market's pretty good to look at because no one's trying to torch their money. Like when you have poker shares and stuff, like Timex is not trying to give away free money. So that's probably more reliable than asking me how I feel about it.
Yeah, I assume people are trying to balance the fact that they don't think Daniel is, like, they think Doug is actually playing better with the fact that Daniel's running better. I don't know, it's hard to know. So it's just, in general, it's just hard to know when you don't see their hands. It's really hard to know. It's like everyone's just guessing.
It would have been awesome to have cards up coverage, and I know like people have been asking for it, and Daniel doesn't want to do it, and so it's probably not happening. Maybe they'll do another live segment with cards, but it is tough to really know what's going on when so few hands actually show down.
Yeah, and also obviously hands are like Doug gets access to showdowns that we don't, and Daniel gets, you know, I mean, it goes check, bet, call, and we don't see what, you know, what hand called and lost, but the other player does.
Jim, if you could turn down Mike sensitivity a little bit.
It'd be interesting also to just know the stats of the 3-bet pots, because 3-bet pots can really dominate the overall results. So it's like a much smaller sample size of hands, you know?
Yeah. Turtle Shell says, is it really such a disadvantage to Daniel to show whole cards? Or is he being a bit pedantic? I think it's interesting because he has a whole team. I think he was a little worried about Doug just being able to adjust so much like he used to back in the day and just crush people in challenges. I don't really know. Do you think it's a huge advantage either way?
I think it's more information, and Doug is probably better equipped to like process and utilize that extra amount of information.
Okay.
But it's hard to know. I mean, it's hard to know because I don't know exactly what Daniel's doing, so I don't know what. Yeah, I would say Daniel's probably overestimating the impact. But yeah, on net, I would probably say advantage Doug.
I'm so conditioned to the overbet that when it's 3/4 pot, I'm like, what is this?
Daniel hasn't been doing that many overbets though, right?
He started mixing them in about 2 sessions ago. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Definitely not as many as Doug though. Doug's a big fan of just blasting turn on river. It's been, I don't know, it's been really fun to watch.
So is Pio.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it depends on the turn card, obviously, but a lot of the like non-dynamic turn cards, yeah, Pio like basically is like the opener retains a significant range advantage, and since there's so little trapping going on, right? Like you know, you flop sets and 2 pairs and just big hands, and you know, Pio wants to get a lot of money in, so Pio check raises a lot of its value and then adds a bunch of bluffs and semi bluffs. But because of that, when it goes check back call and then like a blank turn card comes, it's like blast, blast.
All right, while they're sitting out for 1 minute, I'm actually going to try to change everything. So I know I asked you to come help me as a favor, and now I'm making you go solo. Are you going to be okay for just a couple minutes?
Yeah, I'm good. No worries.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, they're back. We got a 3-bet by Daniel. No call. Three bet by Doug. On both tables. All right. Some 3-bet pots. If you guys are studying, by the way, guys, if you guys are studying, make sure you study 3-bet pots. 3-bet pots are so important. All right, we got a 4-bet too. 3-bet pots are so important. You got to really make sure you study those. It's an interesting 4-bet spot because they're just a little bit deeper. So you're less likely to have Doug jam, which he does call. And now we have a 20K pot with 40K behind. So 2-to-1 ratio here. Ace king is obviously a huge portion of the 4-bet range, and so when the board doesn't have an ace or a king on it, and it has a flush draw on it, which should favor Doug, some very interesting dynamics go down. The 5 and the 3 though are pretty innocuous cards, and Daniel gets away with a really small bet, which is pretty sweet for Daniel. All right, we got 3-bet and a call too, and they're deeper now. 150 blinds deep to start the hand. Big bet by Daniel, which I think is just more common on these types of boards, the 9-2-3 board. You have such a significant overpair advantage, and it's just almost impossible for either player to have 2 pairs, so the overpair becomes even more important on a relative basis. Jack's a good card for Daniel, you know. Overcard to the 9, but one that's going to be in less of Doug's floats. You know, so Doug could have ace, jack of clubs, obviously jack X of hearts, you know, king jack of clubs, but he's not going to have that much jack X. Oh, I got a big hand on the other board too. 9-7-4 is a bit of a different board than 9-2-3 though, and you got to be a lot more of Doug's hands to interact with this board. But a similar non-flush draw making overcard with the king of diamonds. I wonder how thin Daniel goes here in the 8 of hearts rivers. Fives. Yeah. Yeah. Daniel really crushing. Yeah, pre-flop bird. When you say people are underestimating Daniel, I think part of the idea is that the implication is that honestly that Daniel is underestimating like kind of what it takes to really get to the top. Poker's become much more specialized in the last 5, 10, 15 years. And Daniel just doesn't play much heads up, much less heads up cash online. And the idea that somebody with not that much experience can just all of a sudden challenge, legitimately someone has so much experience and so much success in an environment that just you can't hide behind. Like you just like when Doug became the best player, there was no variance, there was no anything. Like he beat the best players. So I think that's part of the implication is that it's not so much that people underestimating Daniel. It's that there's so much to these different levels, and that I think people think that Daniel and some people in his camp are underestimating the people who have gotten to the top and what it takes to be elite. I think that is more the argument people are making. Jamie's coming back, guys. I think there's just some technical stuff, but she should be back soon. Woodstock, I grind every day, brother. I'm in the streets. I think if Daniel wins the challenge, I think he will get an enormous amount of respect. 25,000 hands is not the be all end all, but it's a large enough sample that if he wins, I think people will, will just, I mean, I myself included, I will just admit that I was wrong happily. I'm not like really rooting against Daniel. I mean, I have a little bit of money on the match, so in that sense, I'm influenced, but otherwise, I'm not. I don't have a dog in this fight. It's interesting and entertaining. I'm here for it. How much of a difference between online and face to face? Yeah, pretty big difference. I mean, it's hard to compare just because the biggest difference is going to be the ability to play a lot of hands in a reasonable amount of time. Being able to play multiple tables and play much faster is a huge difference. But yeah, being able to being live is would definitely help Daniel. I mean, Daniel's got so much more experience, and live tells are a thing. So yeah, I mean, playing live would be different, but you just can't get 25,000 hands in a reasonable live session.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm not sure if this is going to be good, but I've exhausted all the methods I know to fix this, so I'm doing the best I can. Now they're saying echoing. Okay, I'm scrapping this mic. Going computer audio. This is supposed to be the worst.
Wow. Wow. You came in hard right there.
Came in hard right there.
That's so funny. I just spend so much money on tech stuff, it doesn't work. And then people go, oh, it's better to just use the most ghetto, like worst computer audio.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Daniel just he's putting in the work, man. He's doing good.
Oh, wow. That's not the stacks I was thinking I was coming back to.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like maybe I'm echoing through you, Jamie.
All right. Hang on a sec.
Do you have headphones?
Yeah. They don't work.
It's interesting how these types of challenges are like kind of motivating. They're like inspiring. It's like I when I watch this, I'm like, yo, I want to get in the streets. I want to battle. I want to play. I like that. I like these types of challenges, these types of battles, like do that. They create that dynamic. It makes people want to, I think, just like get in there more.
Yeah. The problem with that is when you also get inspired and you have no skills in the game. I feel like I did that with the Galfond challenge too. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll play a little PLO. Not good.
Yeah, I never got into the PLO streets. 4 cards too many.
Yeah.
Jamie, are you gonna be late, by the way?
For
later?
For Mafia? I
you?
will be late for Mafia.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I thought you were committed, you know?
I played 11 hours last week.
I know. I was kidding.
They're asking you if you would be favored over Polk. What do you think?
Definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Absolutely not. No, I don't want to play Doug. It doesn't really interest me. Doug is very good. Yeah, that's part of my point, right? Is it's important to be able to recognize the levels here. Like, there's different levels to this shit, and like Doug is at a very high level, man. Even if he hasn't been playing for a while, he was at a high level before. He's done a lot of studying. Like, Doug is at a high level, and I'm like, I'm all right, you know. Like, I can beat a lot of people, but
yeah,
no, Doug is better than me, like, for sure.
In the beginning of your poker career, would you have backed down to a challenge, or you just go, sure, I'll play him?
Well, I mean, it's like very different because, like, I mean, I did some dumb shit and played some people in cash, but like very rarely. So like in Heads Up Sin goes, yeah, I mean, I played Doug, I played Ike, I played Jungle, I played some good players. But Heads Up Sin goes are very different, and I had a lot more experience than them. And you know, when stacks got shallower, I had even more experience. But like the really good players are really good players for a reason. They adjusted quickly, they learned fast, and like it wasn't long before I either didn't have an edge or I was outclassed by some of these guys. So yeah, I mean, like, you don't want to be playing against the smartest, best poker minds in the world. Like, that's a lot of it is a lot of just ego.
Timex, I think it was Timex in the chat, had a good question. He said, would you play Daniel?
Like now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, would I like sign up to a 25,000 hand challenge against Daniel? I don't know. I'm not sure what the upside would be. I mean, I don't think I would crush Daniel at all. I would be if Daniel was like sitting at like 510 or 1020. Like, yeah, I'd sit him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know if I'd want to commit to, like, you know, I would be interested to see how he plays. I mean, I would want to play him more. But also, like, I'm not in the. Yeah, I mean, well, that's not true. I was gonna say I don't really try to play like good players that much, but that's actually not really true. Yeah, it just depends. It depends on the stakes. It depends what else is going on. I mean, the problem for me was that there's always such profitable action that I'm giving up to play heads up against someone competent.
Yeah, I think. Well, me and you just talked about this the other day with your with the possible chess bet, talking about life EV and taking on huge challenges where you might find yourself regretting it in a year or however long the challenge takes, and I don't know if it's worth it, even if you make money. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah, and also, like, as I've gotten older and I've gotten more mature, like the trade-off of EV to like life EV or whatever, like I started to think about that differently. You know, like I like right now I play smaller stakes with bigger edges, and I take less variance, and I just grind and print, and like I'm very happy doing that. And like if I were to double my stakes or triple my stakes and take on more variance, even if I made a bit more money, I don't think my life would be better. So I don't need to do that. So yeah, as you get older, it becomes easier to, like, you know, ignore your ego, or at least for me, a little bit easier.
So trip 4s for Doug on the right here, and a pretty decent pot. Gotta snipe the replay real quick. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Yeah, single raise pot. Looks like it went check, check, flop. Doug let out, turn, got raised, called, check, check, river.
In the New Jersey games, the games are basically some 25-50, but not that much. Some 10-20 and 5-10, a little bit more, and then a lot of 2-5 actually. My average big blind is probably like 10. But I play a decent amount of 2-5. I just multi-table and grind.
It's pretty big online. Not exactly the same as grinding 2-5 live, which is the streets I'm in.
Yeah, no, I mean definitely, it's a bit different from live, but it's also a bit different from playing like 2K and 5K heads up sitting goats.
Are you guys still as smug as the first stream? Listen, I like how I got my money in this, but no, I'm definitely not quite as like, let's get him, we're gonna back up the truck. But but
I mean,
less
respect to Daniel, you know, like Daniel's respect to Daniel, man. He's playing well. It's again, like we said, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what's going on.
Right. Yeah, it's not really the results that make me feel that way. It's that from hearing from everyone, everyone kind of thought Daniel was going to show up in worse shape than this poker-wise, and so I'm not quite as smug, no.
I do think though that it was, if you just looked at the first 200 hands they played live, Daniel did not impress, I think, in that portion. And since I think, you know, that's like, that stands out disproportionately because it was live and you saw the hands, and that was a big anchoring, I think, it left a big anchoring impression. And I'm really suspicious of any kind of conspiracy theory that Daniel did that on purpose. But when I watched that, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a massacre. But I think Daniel's either improved or just gotten into different spots, or maybe was doing some stuff purposefully. But like,
I have a new exciting conspiracy theory. If we, after this hand on the right, I'll introduce it to the chat.
Okay. Arrogant BSTRD says, why not join the streaming game? I actually thought a lot about starting to stream, and I just don't think that it makes sense, because I play in such a small player pool, and I play against the same people all the time, and I'm not trying to play GTO. Yo, I'm hyper exploit, like crush the clowns, and I don't want the clowns to see what's up, you know?
Gotcha. So Doug just made trips 2 hands out of, I think, 3 or 4 on the right, and I did snipe it, so let's check it out.
What a sun runner. Oh my god.
Single raise pot, ace 10 5, 2 spades, goes bet call. Sorry, check bet call. Check bet call turn as well. And a very reasonably sized, about 3/4 pot gets called by Daniel. We didn't get to see his hand. So for the new conspiracy theory, what if Doug is throwing the beginning of this match to be able to get that Bilzerian match going?
That is Trump-esque, and it's silliness. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think Bilzerian is getting into any. I would assume the ratio of challenges that Bilzerian's name is mentioned in to the actual challenges that he participates in is like 1,000,000 to 1, you know?
Yeah, but I would never have thought this match was going to happen. So now I kind of have that, like, it was humbling, because I was like, oh yeah, you guys are going to play, sure. I just always brush it off like it's not going to happen. This is happening. So I don't know, maybe that one will too. I think it was 10 to 1 that Bilzerian was asking for. Doug's 20 million, so Bilzerian's 2 million.
Oh, 20 million to 2 million? Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. I wonder what, you know when Bilzerian did the bike bet, and then he got like the cops to clear the road, and then he like biked behind a truck with its open doors. I wonder what the poker equivalent of that would be. Like coming so close to the line of like something unethical, but not technically breaking any rules. I wonder what that would be. Be interesting.
Yeah, that's why,
gotta be
like,
careful.
The 10 to 1 would make me nervous if I were Doug, because it's just too punishing if
but it's only,
finds some way.
It's only 20 million though, so
only.
Huge pot, 50th all in, 8-10 deuce king. Was this 3-bet, or
we're gonna find out right after
Daniel,
the hand.
Daniel 3-bet, and then Doug did some shit.
I put Doug on trips again just because that's what's happening this match.
On a deuce?
Yeah, why not? He's turning trips a lot this hour.
He's got a lot of bluffs there, but look at that.
All right.
That was a fun pot. We replay that? What happened?
Yeah, I'm going to replay it. Let's see. Single raised pot. 10-8 deuce. Doug c-bets, Daniel raises. And Doug re-raises, and there's a call.
Oh, Doug re-raises the flop. Okay.
Yeah. The turn, I think. I'll put it on medium. The replayer is such trash. It's the worst.
Well, high is fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It went 2,300, 5,700 by Doug on the flop, and then check 14K into 13K on the turn, call. And then check fold to Doug's just over pot size jam.
It's actually interesting because I think the deuce is quite relevant on the turn. Like I would definitely turn some of my deuces into flop 3-bet bluffs, you know, blocking bottom set and having some equity to improve. Like the deuce, I think, is a very relevant turn card. Someone said ace deuce in the chat, which I think is probably a reasonable guess. Oh my god, it's 6:34. I gotta go soon.
Oh, all right. Well,
I'll
at least you're here.
I'll stay for a couple minutes, but I gotta walk this pup, and then you know, I gotta meditate before Mafia, so I'm in my best state.
If I took anything as seriously as I took Mafia, I would be so successful in my life.
Well, if anything was as important as Mafia, then that would be appropriate.
Yeah, that's a good point. So
we got 20K pot here. So easy to miss these spots.
Every pot is huge.
Any chance of me appearing on High Stakes Poker? I don't think so. I don't think anybody wants to see me on High Stakes Poker. And do I still train MMA? Not during COVID, and very sadly, my gym that I trained at went out of business. They lost my coach lost his gym, lost his space. So he's trying to find a new space. And when he comes back, yeah, I think I'll do a little bit of training. Part of it just to reconnect with the people, the family I made during my bet. But I actually wanted to fight Dan Bilzerian. That was like I really wanted that to be my next fight. That would have been sweet to be that next fight. But I think my fighting days might be over, honestly.
So I want to talk to you more about that, but maybe on a pod or something, because this hand was wild. It went. Sorry, I just replay it because I know chat was asking about it. And Daniel tried to get trappy on the river and it checked. So single raise pot.
Yeah.
10, 7, 5, 2 clubs goes check. Daniel bets. Doug calls.
Did Daniel bet big?
Turn 10. I believe that was just a normal size, but it went 3 bets on the turn. And then check. Yeah, Daniel just checked river with Jack 10 and suited, and Doug had 8-5 of diamonds for just a pair on the flop.
Sorry, what was the turn?
10, second 10 on the turn.
10, 7, 5, 10?
Yep. There's trips everywhere. Thought heads up you're supposed to make like second pair and have to make decisions.
Yeah, that's a weird play by Doug, isn't it? I mean, all right. Doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's like, that randomizer came up like 2 out of 100. Like, do it, you know?
Randomizers can get you in big trouble. Chris Kruk recounted a hand to me where it came up with like a 1%er, and he's like, oh, well, time to try to get someone to fold a boat.
Yeah, but it's like, so, yeah, whatever. It's like, you know, if you know the guy has a boat. But anyway. Kruk, I love Kruk. I don't know him
Kruk's
well.
So good. I just trust. Yeah, he's really funny.
Yeah. No. Yeah, he's just comes off so sharp and so good in his run at once videos. I love. He's one of my favorites. Such a midlife crisis turning to MMA in your 30s. Tell me about it, bro.
Midlife.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, you know, whatever. But I mean, there's some worse paths to go as a midlife crisis. I'm okay with mine, but totally, I agree with you.
Yeah. Big pot brewing on the left now.
Yeah, monotone boards though. Man, he don't care. He just bets. He's like, you have a lot more flushes than me, but I'm a bet anyway.
And he has adopted like some weirdly small sizings
throughout
the entire match, even on turn bet. So he'll see bet 20% and then turn bet 20% as well. He's also a value bet, just teeny on rivers. I don't know if he was going for, to induce a raise or what, but lots of small bets.
Doug with the raise and take it. Yeah, I like that. I think as people, you know, there aren't that many raises in those in some of these 3-bet spots, but as someone lowers their 3-bet sizing, I think you gotta start to raise more and get some more, add some value and put some pressure, because part of the small bet is that you want to bet a higher frequency, so you want to be able to bet some of your weaker hands. So those weaker hands are going to be in a tough spot against a raise. So I think against the smaller bet, raising more makes a lot of sense. 12K pot, let's go on the turn. this is actually a card that he could probably bet very big on, because even though it's a card that completes a straight, it's a straight that Doug's going to have many less of than Daniel, because Doug's 3-betting a lot of his 6-7 suited. So like ace 8, ace 9, 8 9. A lot of these hands, the suited versions, Doug will be 3-betting. So like you can go to town. I mean, obviously, you can check and give up too. Wild chat. The chat is wild sometimes.
Kind of love Twitch chat though, and Doug wins it with just a pair of 5s there. I'll replay that one too.
Wait, what the hell just happened there?
King 5. We didn't see Daniel's hand, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Doug made it 4100 pre.
4100 pre with King 5 off?
Yep.
So that's interesting. That to me strikes me as a very obvious exploit, right? Because I mean that King 5 off is not in the 3-bet range. But if you think that your opponent is under defending to 3-bets, then it makes a lot of sense to start to polarize your range. Use some of these blockers / trashy hands like the King 5 off, and just be like, yeah, fuck you. If you don't want to defend, then I'm gonna keep some of my good hands and play pots with them, and then take some of these junkier hands that have some blocker properties and just put them in the 3-bet range and take advantage of your overfolding.
So that's the kind of thing. If it was King 5 suited, you just play a flop, right? It's just the fact that it's like not very valuable.
Well, King 5 suited, as far as I like, for my own strategy, King 5 suited is a mix. Like I 3-bet King 5 at like half frequency, which I think is a reasonable approximation. But the King 5 off is just never in the range. That's a trash hand. Like when you play deep heads up, like there are no trash hands that you 3-bet with. Like that's just not a thing, because you're out of position and your opponent's supposed to be calling and you just get into tough spots. But if your opponent overfolds, I think it's a great exploit. It could also just be like, I don't know, a bit of randomness, a bit of tilt, a bit of annoyance. I don't know, but knowing Doug, I assume that's he does most things deliberately and consciously. The thing, one of the things that's super interesting in the development of a match like this is that like you can do this King 5 off stuff, right? But like there you get to showdown, and so now your opponent sees your hand, your opponent's coach sees your hand, and then there's the back and forth. It's like, oh, okay, now should if we still want to undercall these 3-bets, maybe we should up our 4-bet frequency, right? Because now he can't defend to the 4-bets if he's polarizing his range more. So we can like lower our 4-bet size and 4-bet a little bit more. What's fucking Doug gonna do with King 5 off when I 4-bet him? Even if I 4-bet tiny, like he's gonna fold. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. This makes me want to play heads up. This is going to be so bad for my bankroll.
Just play small. That's the thing. People like you just play super small, and you'll be you have fun and you learn. I think it's a big mistake people make, is they just want to play bigger than they should. It's like, just play small. Play small. We got potential for big pot on Cape Breton. Yeah. On the right. Some potential. We can have 130.
I'm noticing too that he's adjusting his raise sizes on each table. He was doing it the other day too, when stacks are getting deeper and shallower. So a lot to keep in your head when you're 2-tabling against the same opponent, to have to adjust to that. And then Doug had said he wanted to go longer matches and potentially more tables, which to me, I'm like, I can't even imagine, because I think it's so hard to follow, even just watching with 2 tables. I can't imagine playing 3 tables with varying stack depths.
Yeah, like I agree that like if I was Doug, I'd probably want to play more tables against Daniel, and I am pretty sure Daniel will be like, no, like no, I don't want to do that. Like that's silly. So like but I think so. Look, I feel like I've said a few things that are like a bit contrary to like what Doug's doing, and I am not in a position to really criticize Doug, honestly. Like he's better than me. Like I gladly acknowledge that. But sometimes I think I see some pros do stuff like this, like these really subtle distinctions based on stacks, all this type of shit. And it's like, I don't think you really capture much EV with that stuff. Like maybe it's a bit better, maybe the solver likes it. I'm sure you have some good reasons, but I'm not sure you really are making a big difference when you like 3-bet like one, like 2/3 of a big blind more when you're 140 blinds deep. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool, man. But yeah, it does make sense from a conceptual point of view to And also, like, as you get deeper, I mean, you just got to play slightly different hands. Like, you gotta, like, you know, king jack offsuit as a hand is a hand that's like a very common 3-bet at 100 big blinds. At 200 big blinds, you got to be much more careful because it's got some reverse implied odds and it just doesn't play as well, and you just can get put in some tougher spots. So as you get deeper, the some of the ranges will definitely, and just in general, I think you have to 3-bet a slightly smaller frequency, just because being out of position is even more of a penalty now. The deeper you get, you got to be careful.
Yeah, because all right, that makes sense. It's like hard for me to organize this as like an MTT full ring kind of player, but it is interesting. So you're going to be raising a little bigger, deeper, and you're going to be 4-betting a little deeper, a little bit bigger, deeper, and just you're not messing around with 3-betting too much. You're doing it for value as you're super deep, or
I don't know if you're 4-betting. Well, 4-betting bigger, yeah, probably 4-betting a little bit bigger, yeah, for sure. But I don't know if you're 4-betting more, just because you're up against a slightly stronger 3-bet range. And when you 4-bet, you like, you know, obviously, like you dramatically, you make the stack to pot ratio like much smaller, so you decrease your positional edge. So yeah, I mean, also it's like that's another thing is that like Daniel's fucking flatting queens and ace king sometimes. Like you gotta like all this theoretical conversation is interesting, but I think there's a real limit to its application in this context. I think I think I would be like, it's also, you know, it's funny that they don't. It's like they're not playing with a HUD, but they have fucking teams of people like going through all this shit. You know, it's like I could just imagine there's like people trying to figure out the HUD stats from watching and rewatching. Yeah, it's like, which is so ridiculous. It's like like a funny dynamic where it's like we're back. It's like we've gone back in time a little bit, where people are like taking notes and shit on the piece of paper, being like what hands is this guy? What frequency is this guy playing? And there's kind of no way around it. Like I sympathize with people who have a kind of purist sensibility about it. Like there should be no studying and there should be no solver. You just go and play. And I'm like sympathetic to that point of view. But it's also just like that's just not how it is anymore. Like you just can't do that anymore. And also, it's like, back in the day, yeah, people didn't have solvers, but you know what they did have was they had friends. And it's like when Ivy and Negreanu and like these guys are all boys traveling and playing tournaments and having dinner and talking about hands, like that's a huge advantage over everyone else who's just like there by themselves. So I mean, there's different, there's also a leveling out of the advantages that people have by having these tools to study. You don't need to be in the social scene or friends with good players, or you can just kind of do some stuff on your own and become good. So I actually, whoa, D-Negs with the rivered straight and the big pot. Can you snipe that? You get it?
Yeah.
It's you. You're on point.
Single raised 1K call. King 9-6-2 clubs, check. 6 on the turn, Doug bets and Daniel calls. Doug bets out river on the 10 and gets raised and calls. We don't know his hand though.
Huh. Yeah, it would be, man, that's another thing that would be super interesting to see, just like river raises, like a frequency of bluffs by Daniel, because it's like, man, I feel like that number is going to be real low. But, I remember hearing Doug talk once, and he was talking about like his approach when he plays heads up, when he starts playing someone new. And I remember him saying this, and it was funny because I had the complete opposite point of view of him. Because like when I play someone for the first time, I'm often like, people under bluff as a general player pool exploit. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're bluffing me enough here, so I kind of fold a lot. And Doug's like the complete opposite. He's like, you have to prove to me that you're not bluffing. He's like, you have to prove that to me. And I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. And I mean, he's playing at higher stakes, it's a different thing. But it's like Doug's like, he's going to make you prove that you don't bluff, which is just the way he said it too was really funny. I was like, oh shit, this guy's not fucking around.
I would get absolutely thrashed in mid stakes if I just always thought people were bluffing, especially on rivers, especially facing river raise. Like,
oh my God,
there's so few people who actually go for those bluff spots because they're expensive.
Yeah, and some of them are counterintuitive, and it's yeah. I mean, also like, I think I've set a decent amount of money on fire, like just calling those, and going for too many of those, honestly. It's like, yeah, but yeah, it was just, I remember so distinctly. This was like a few years ago, but I remember like Doug was just like, yeah, you're gonna have to prove to me that you're not bluffing. Cool.
I think Daniel has proved he's not bluffing very much.
Yeah, I guess there's there's always the fear, right? There's always the fear that like he's just gonna like right when you switch it up, he's gonna switch it up, and like, man. Scott Alford, the upswing charts, bro. The upswing. There's more to life than the upswing charts. Like I know we're on the upswing channel, and like the upswing charts are good.
Cut his mic.
But you know, it's like I'm using some different charts, bro. I must be. No, upswing's got some good stuff, obviously. I bought Doug's heads up course many years ago. I was so excited when it came out. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. What was that? It was like $1,000, right? And it was just, everyone says it's great. 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, free solver, but yeah.
There's a new module out that I've been watching just to try to get up to speed, having never played Heads Up, by Dougie Dan, and it's good. It's like hand-holding me through the charts, the different ranges and sizes, and how you adjust to someone changing up their sizes.
This is on Upswing?
Yep.
Upswing's got a bunch of gangsters on their in their crew. I mean, there's a really good players, obviously.
I had to throw in a plug because Mike Brady is taking a break today, and he's the VP of Upswing. He's usually there with the like, hey guys, if you want to sign up for a course. So I had to at least plug it once.
Old man running over a washed up tank top, dude. It's amazing, yeah. Oh man, I actually like that. This is actually making me want to stream because the chat is so funny. The chat is hilarious. I watch a lot of chess, and like the chess chat. The chess chat, it can be silly, but it's a bit more tame. But this is funny.
Huge.
Oh, here we go. 9.
All right, I have the replayer. So, see what happened there. It was a raise and a 3-bet by Daniel and a call. 7, 6, 5, 2 diamonds. Bet and a call. Check bet call. Turn Doug bet, and it was a call. And then I wonder what Daniel had there. 4-liner on the turn.
Yeah, well, it's easy for Daniel to have a bunch of 2-pair hands, because a bunch of the student can have 3-bet, and obviously he can just have a 4. But yeah, I mean that's obviously like there's so many. The thing is that's so hard with this type of stuff is there's all these flip sides, and it's like, Doug is going for too much, or Doug is so aggressive in spots, and it's like and then when he makes hands, he just fucking wins these massive spots. Holy shit.
Yeah, it seems like a much more fun way to play poker. I used to think the same. Chat's gonna laugh because I'm gonna reference Vanessa Selves, which they just think they're the same person. But I used to watch her play and just think, man, she's playing a completely different game than me, and it looks like way more fun. Where for me, I'm like, this isn't that good. There's a reason to fold. She's always looking for a reason to play a hand. Oh, timeout for Sophia.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, baby. Sophia's like, yo, time for my walk, son. She's like, you late. She's like, you late on the walk. You late. All right, I'm gonna take you, baby. I'm gonna take you. I promise. I'm gonna take you. I will say that I think it is true that Vanessa was playing a different kind of poker than anyone else. Like, brilliant person.
Fun. Playing live poker when you're trying to find reasons to play every hand is just fun. You're not sitting there
until you get smashed. It's fun until you get smashed and your wallet's empty. I've had this where I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go into the streets. I'm gonna hood these people. Like, let's go. I do every time I've ever get out of line. I'm at the Borgata. I'm at the Hard Rock. I'm at the Rio. Wherever I am, I just get completely smashed. Absolutely smashed. Like if I just go 1 pip outside the range, I just get smashed. So I've just been beaten into discipline. I've just been beaten down.
Daniel with a nice turn raise there takes it down. Another sizable pot.
Look at you trying to balance your compliments.
What'd you say?
Look at you trying to balance your compliments.
With what?
Like Daniel made a nice play. There you go, Daniel.
Hey, listen. Here's the thing. I'm not biased in his play. I can't be. I don't have enough knowledge.
No. You want to be able to pay rent. No, I get it. I get it. Okay, baby. I'm gonna take.
Take your puppy. I really appreciate it. You gave me a lifeline, and chat loved you. So if you ever want to come back, it would be great.
Yeah, I had fun. Chat was cool, and you're awesome. And I'm gonna see you later. All right,
Yeah.
baby. I'm gonna take you. Okay.
Bye,
All right,
Sophia.
guys. See you later. Bye, Jamie.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. We're gonna get a little less heavy on the strat here because that was Liv's job. He's played a ton of heads up in his life. He was a really successful heads up sit and go player, and apparently still gets in the streets when Daniel wants to play. So it's kind of cool that he played both of them. Forehead cam. Jimmy has to readjust every time. There you go. Thank you, Jimmy. So it looks like they're taking a quick break. So I can talk to you guys for a minute. Jimmy says, thanks for understanding chat. Chat has been mostly in line today. We appreciate you guys. It looks like an hour and a half into it that they're about even. So all that action, multiple 30 to 50K pots, and they're just back to where they started. Can All right. I think I'm back. The tech issues have not stopped. That was just a quick blink in the Cox internet, I think, from my side. Yeah, in Vegas, not a fan of Cox internet. I've been deep in a hand, sometimes cash, and it just goes out. So I didn't catch what happened here on the right where it's 800 and a sizable raise by Doug. All right. So yeah, hopefully your screens were still up so you guys got to see. Sorry, I took a brief nap there for 2 minutes. Oh, sorry. You guys asked for a Mafia explanation, and the internet cut out while I was giving it. I want to pay attention to that poker, but if you ask on Twitter, I'll give a whole rundown. It's a great game, so yeah, I'm really into it, and I would be happy if you guys started playing it. See that pot on the left that just happened was just a 3-bet by Doug. Looks like about a half-pot c-bet and take it down. what is my main game and format nowadays? I play cash on an app because it's pretty soft right now, and then online I just play MTTs. I am enjoying the course on Upswing. I think I will get into heads up eventually, but nothing nothing like these guys are playing. I would probably start at the very bottom. Why am I on my own now? Liv agreed to do an hour of commentary just out of the kindness of his heart, and we actually kept him for an hour and a half, so he took off, but I'll do my best with you guys. So huge pot here on the right thanks to Doug's overbet on the river. We get a call, and Doug flopped trips again. Doug has had trips, I think, 3 times today. Let's look at that hand. Looks like it was a single raise pot by Doug pre-flop, queen 10, 10, 2 diamonds. Doug c-bets, Daniel calls. Turn 3rd diamond, Doug bets 2/3 pot, Daniel calls. And then river, Doug just goes for huge value. It looked like it was about a pot and a half, and Daniel calls. We don't get to see his hand. Golden Blazer asked, what's my favorite Vegas casino? I feel like it's been 10 years since I've been to one since COVID, but I really love playing at Encore, the Wynn. Just best dealers, nice environment, really nice casino. So you see a tiny bet by Doug here on the turn on the right, just 750 into 5K. And Daniel takes a small pot down on the left. Doug has me conditioned to always think that an overbet is coming, and without fail, pot and a half. Gets called, and Doug got caught speeding. Young man speeding, jack on the river helps Daniel make that call down. But yeah, Doug just had a missed flush draw. Got a split pot on the left. Both have a pair of 8s. Dog and cookie jar. Sure. Donkey Killer says, if Doug loses a challenge, I want a refund from Upswing. I'm sure the check is in the mail. They'll have no problem doing that. Alright, so Doug has trips for the 46th time today. That pot, I did snipe that pot real quick. See if anything exciting happened. Single raise pot again. King 10-3, flush draw. Call. Tiny bets. So that was interesting. It was 2 $400 bets on flop and turn. And then an actual manly sized river bet that gets called with Doug having trip kings. Oh, chat. Said shout out to the guy changing the score every 5 seconds. Red Sox that says refer to that river as humanly. I'm sorry, it was very sexist of me to call it a manly size bet. I agree. Mr. Meeseek, yeah, they've played 3,000 hands coming into this match. And I believe they'll play about a few hundred hands each 2-hour session. Yeah, so there's, all right, and Daniel scoops about a 6K pot there. Casket Romance, why no real-time hand counter on stream? This is a little tough. There's no, WSOP is a little tough to work with, and people are doing the best they can, but we would need a team of like 10 to get the dollar amount exactly right and the hand count exactly right, so it's just easier to go through it afterwards. We're not commentating and adjusting table size and talking to chat and everything. Just two very reasonably sized pots. And a little bit of a stab from D-Neg, just 400 and 1800 on the turn. Our team is really good at trolling. Let's see what this hand is first. We got Doug taking down 2600 with a pair of threes, each of them having a flush draw that missed. The chat had asked earlier for the tags to be switched because they said it wasn't fair. Daniel's winning, so they changed it from a fish to a donkey. Or no, that's just mine. That was funny. This was so in the past when Doug was getting into the mix with everyone, but do you remember the YouTube stuff all started with Mercier being labeled a bad reg? I think Doug was streaming. Huge pot on the right. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Doug's going to take it down. No showdown. One of the big fights that Doug actually had on YouTube in poker was Mercier, and it was all over him being labeled a bad reg. Someone on the stream said, "Isn't that Mercier?" and you have him as a bad reg, and then it started a multi-video controversy, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Daniel's labeled like this as mostly a joke, you guys. I will answer that after the hand, Danny, 91. He's got two little pots brewing. With the frequency of overbets, little pots, we have to pay attention to all of them because they can get bloated in just one street. It's pretty insane. And Daniel with a reasonably sized bet, looks like about 80% pot or so, 70%. Doug's in the tank. And on the left we have a pot brewing out of nowhere as well. Oh, Doug on the right with a huge raise. And on the left, Doug pays off Daniel's ace-king suited. Turn, top pair, top kicker. Doug will take down a 20K pot on the right. So Danny 91, I think was his name, asked what's better for settling grudge matches, heads up poker or fighting? And poker, the poker world is awesome because it seems like, you know, it's 50-50 when people start beaking how the match is settled. We either play a massive multi-million-dollar heads up match, or they get in the ring and just beat the shit out of each other. So Olivier was just on, and he had a huge MMA fight with JC Alvarado. Tons of people bet on it. Tons of people had side action. I think Liv and JC had huge amounts of money on themselves, and Olivier came out victorious. But yeah, you could watch it online if you look it up. I'm sure it's still all over the internet. But I'm not sure what's better for settling a grudge match. I enjoyed both. Boulderman says, why not both? Yeah, I think having a 50-50 battle for heads-up poker and just a good ass-whooping is a good way to approach it. Got D-Negs with a raise on the turn and Doug folds on the right. And on the left, you see Daniel taking an aggressive line here and raising turn. Doug with the call, raising flop, excuse me. Doug with the call, and the turn is the Queen of Diamonds. Pretty interesting pot here on the left, and now Daniel's going to check to Doug on the turn. He makes a small bet in position. And that changes everything, so Daniel does call the turn. This is striking me as a card that would probably be better for Daniel here, but I wish Liv was still in the booth with me. It goes check to Doug. Is it going to be Young Man speeding? Is it going to be Doug who actually hit that river with Broadway? Let's see. Doug with the full pot bet. Thank you, additional pylons. Says, we don't know anything either, just make stuff up. See, I came in and I announced that I don't play heads up for a living, so I don't think it'll be very believable. And Doug takes that down. Nice bet by Doug. Whether he had it or not, we'll never know. For all the massive pots traded back and forth, this match is pretty even today. I think their plan is to just play 2 hours today, pretty much because they're playing 3 days consecutively now, but it's up to these two guys. They could wonder if they'll ever have just one marathon match. That would be really fun for you guys. So on the right, we got an 8K pot on the flop, 8-6-4. Checked to the turn, 10 of spades. Doug with about 2/3 pot lead out here on the turn. And that'll take it down. They're about dead even. Jonah say asked what's my Instagram. It's Jamie Likes Dogs. I'm kind of I'm a pretty consistent person. It's like the only thing I've liked my whole life. Wow, Doug versus Charlie Carroll, 24-hour heads-up match live on Twitch. That would be fun. Will there be a singing component? That's what I need to know. Defendants to ask, why are they playing 2 tables? Doug wanted to play more. I think the action is appropriate speed for the players to just be dealing with 2 tables. The match would take really, really long if they just played 1, since they're playing such short sessions, just 2 hours. And I think both of these guys have a lot going on in their lives. They don't want this to be going, 8 months. Daniel check raising on the right here. 7-5 deuce 8. And Doug finds the call. Got Barry Greenstein on the river. Daniel now goes about 3/4 pot. Doug makes the call, and Daniel, just with the gutter ball all the way to the river, rivers his ace. Doug pays him off. I don't know how they're going to play more than 2 tables if they ever do. It's very hard. I don't know how you guys feel about it in the chat. It's really hard to follow the action even on 2. Obviously, they're not reading the chat, so. But I think that would get to be very difficult if you're not practicing playing many more tables than this to try to add another one. We have a big pot on the left. This is 3-bet pre. And D-Negs bets out 1/4 pot. And yeah, I'll get to your question in 1 second, Late Street Aggro. I feel like with your tone, you may have asked that multiple times. It's really hard to follow the entire chat with so much action going on. But we have a big pot on the left, 12K pot, and Daniel bets 3/4 pot. And Doug with the jam. Oh, and the call. Oh no. So that's just a massive cooler. We have Daniel with quad aces and Doug with the nut flush. So that wasn't really a young man speeding kind of hand. That was just huge cooler in Daniel's favor. The question I was referring to earlier, someone in chat had asked, and there's sitting out. Looks like there's about 13 minutes left to play after this. Might just be a pee break. Yeah, I do think whenever I see another format where it's so specialized, it does make me realize that MTTs are soft. That obviously the elite MTT players are very, very good poker players, but you can kind of survive in MTTs without being quite as studied or as like in the thick of it as these guys are. Like if these guys were as casual about poker as I am, they would get wrecked by any serious heads-up opponent. So yeah, I do think MTTs are probably still one of the softest avenues you can go down, or live cash. Yeah, I think Doug actually just broke his laptop. Yeah, guys, in chat, if any of you guys ever want to clip a hand, by all means, that would be really helpful. So if there's just a huge pot that you want to share online, especially that huge cooler, quads, to the nut flush, go for it. That truck was backing up over Doug's dead body. We should have had the sound. Fake profit, yeah, I'm joking about the laptop. I mean, I don't have a camera on Doug right now. They have a 360 cam to prevent cheating, but I don't have the feed to it, so I assume Doug didn't break his laptop, but I can't know for sure. Alright, looks like he's back. Best Buy rush delivered him a new laptop and setup, so We have 11 minutes left unless they decide to go over. Casket Romance, I think we have talked about this before, but if you don't click the replayer instantly, it's gone forever. If you're just an observer like me, I click the replay, and if it's the last hand, it'll let me, but if there was even like a turbo hand where it just goes raise button folds, that hand is lost forever to me. Doug will be able to have it afterwards, and so will Daniel, so if they feel like posting about it, you'll get to see the hand over again. And obviously, the Twitch playback later, we could do that too. Yes, Gemini, I failed at my job, okay? I've got a pretty quick trigger finger for the replayer, but I missed that one. So huge pot now on the turn, and that's Daniel will take it down with the turn raise. I like the clause at 12.5k hands, though, that the losing player at that moment can decide to re-up for the second half of the challenge, because this would be kind of short. This is the 8th stream, but their sessions are so short that I think variance would play a much bigger role if they really did just go 12.5k. Jimmy, if you're listening, is there any way to allow for clips to be posted? Nightbot times out anybody who tries to do it because it's a link. I wonder if there's an exception for clips. Yeah, thanks for your help, chat. Sorry if you got timed out just now. That was accidental. It's just triggered by anybody posting links. So sorry I led you astray. We see Doug taking it down with a pair of aces, $6,500 pot. There we go. Thank you, Jimmy. So if anyone missed that hand, the quads versus nut flush by Doug. Xenogen asked, who do I think is playing better? I am so not a pro at heads up, so you know, I usually just listen to people after who do hand breakdowns to get an idea. I know that Daniel's definitely running a little bit better, but you see Doug scoop a $4,500 pot there with a rivered king. So maybe I just wind that one in. Is that the answer? I just whine about Doug's running bad and then he gets a nice river card? Works in tournaments when you wind it in on Twitter. Teddy KGB, they agreed to play 2 hours today, but you know, it's between those guys. If they ever want to do a 24-hour match, they can. And we'll just take a bunch of Red Bulls and join them on the stream. See Daniel there with a pre-flop 3-bet, takes it down. Daniel bet calls on the turn on the right. And Daniel hit a set for an 11k pot. We don't see Doug's cards. My wee wee is green, lovely name, but he posted in all caps, so it got deleted. But I agree with that. In this grudge match, where was the slow roll? When you got quads against your enemy, you should really get that slow roll in there at least one time. Sean D would be so upset. What a missed opportunity. Just letting you guys know, I'm reading the chat. There's some stuff I can't read out loud, but it's pretty funny. So, you know, keep it up. Got a pot brewing on the right. Very connected board with a flush draw now on the turn. You got Doug with a full pot bet, and it gets through. All right, thank you very much, Jimmy. If you're trying to post clips in the chat, they're whitelisted now. You won't get a timeout. Sorry to the guys who are trying to help out that got timed out. Sheets in the chat. What's up, buddy? And thank you for the compliment. We got Doug with the river 2 pair for about 5K pot. Would love to see Daniel's cards. I love Twitch chat. The percentage of names I can read out loud and the ones that I can't, it's got to be like the unreadable ones are at least 20%. So looks like Doug, it went check check on the river, and Doug takes it down with a higher pair. Speaking of Matisow, he's got to be sweating this so hard. I'm reading the chat saying that we need a Mike Matisow 1-2 challenge next. He had a significant portion of his bankroll, according to his Twitter, on this match bet on Daniel. He got 4-1. So, you know, he's got to be sweating this pretty hard. He had some money on Trump. And yeah, he can get it all back here. So Daniel with the $4,100 3 bet on the right. And Daniel making second pair for $3,500 pot on the left. Got Doug in the tank on this double paired 2 flush draw board. Pretty bloated pot. He does check back. Flush completes on the river with the ace of diamonds. Is this going to be a young man speeding? Or is this ace more likely in Doug's range? He does just exercise some restraint and checks back. Lucky for Doug, Daniel did hit that river. He turned the flush draw and rivered an ace. Sheets with a good question. I wish Olivier was still in the booth because he would be more qualified to answer, having watched multiple sessions. Who do you think has adapted to the other played better? Daniel, Doug, or no difference? Can't tell. We saw one session where Daniel just started to find overbets in spots where he hadn't in the previous maybe 4 sessions. So I think that was a big adjustment in his game. I've seen, I don't know, like it's really hard. I'll ask people who are heads-up specialists and get back to you on that one, because I'm sure Doug's making some adjustments. I think Daniel will just have a much steeper learning curve and adjust his play a lot more just from not having the experience to play a certain way over and over again. He also has a team. I'm not sure what that includes. I think I've heard a couple people that may have been his coaches, but it's all a little bit just the rumor mill. But yeah, if he has multiple people going through hands, he's going to have a lot of help in being able to adjust to some of Doug's perceived leaks. I think that's part of the frequently asked questions now, and that chat's like, why are you biased? This is the Upswing Twitch chat. We are friends of Doug. Don't think I'll be biased in actual calling of the hands, because, you know, when Daniel's playing well, I'll just say it. but we're friends of Doug in this chat. Big pot brewing on the right. We got 20K in the middle here. Doug's only got 1.5 SPR. We know he likes his overbets. And Daniel actually makes a sizable bet and Doug finds a fold. Thoughtful Chimp asked if being a lawyer helped me as a poker player because he's a lawyer as well. It helped me want to avoid being a lawyer again, so it made me work hard early in my career to avoid getting a job again. So I think it helped there, but I don't know about otherwise. So Daniel on the left here is finding a raise on the Jack 9-9. Now a second flush draw and the ace on the turn. Doug does elect to check back, and the front door flush comes in on the river. Daniel bets and a snap call by Doug with trip nines. So Daniel just had the gutter ball there. Let's replay that one real quick. Went single raise pot by Doug and a call with Daniel. Daniel actually check raised his queen 8 for the gutter ball there and then slowed down until the river. Decided to bet pretty sizably on the river. I think it was 80% pot to represent the flush. He actually had the 8 of hearts in his hand. And Doug with trips gets to bluff catch for a change. He has not been bluff catching much in this match because I don't think Daniel's been bluffing very much from what I can tell. But obviously we are not seeing whole cards. We're not seeing any hands that don't go to showdown, so maybe Daniel's bluffing a lot and getting away with it. I'm rooting for some longer sessions just to see some of these stacks get inflated. If we ever get a table, yesterday I think Daniel had about 230K at one point. If Doug ever wins some of that back, if they have two 200K stacks, I mean, we could just see huge swings with some hand matchups. Fortunate for Doug that nut flush on the river coming in against quad aces was not a situation where they both have 200K, because I think that could have gotten really, really ugly, as opposed to just pretty ugly. Doug finding a pot-sized bet on the right here. And nice value bet with the king hitting the river there. T-Gibber, what's the biggest pot in the whole match so far? That's a really good question. And I'm not sure that I have the answer to that, but maybe Jimmy has some stats if he wants to answer in chat, but we could also find that out afterwards. Odds Crouton makes an appearance today. Zythologist, thank you for asking. Crouton's hurt for the first time in his life. I'm so sad. But he's recovering. He hurt his leg. He went a little too hard in the zoomies. So he's not making it up the stairs. I don't think. He's been chilling on ground level. So potential big pot on the left. Now Daniel takes it down with 3/4 pot. And checks through the turn, river pairs the board. And it goes check, check, and Doug's going to take this one down with just ace high. Nice 5K pot. And on the left, we have Daniel with a $4,300 c-bet. Sorry, I'm already losing it. A 3-bet. Call by Doug. Daniel making a tiny little bet, less than a quarter pot on a flush draw board. I'm actually surprised to see small betting on boards with flush draws, but maybe just because it's ace high. And we have a 3/4 pot turn bet. Call by Doug. 31K pot here on the left. It's incredible how these pots still end up getting built so huge with Daniel taking such small c-bet sizing, but turn bets have been pretty healthy for the most part. So we have Daniel missing his flush draw, giving up on the river, having made a pair, and Doug with a pair of aces hanging on till the end for a nice 31K pot for Doug. So who are you guys rooting for? Are you rooting for it to be a longer match, a 25K match, because you're enjoying it? So that would mean you probably want to root for Daniel to be up $1 after half the match. Or are you rooting for a big smackdown either direction and this to be over after half of it? Let me know. So in the chat, if you love Doug, you want Dougie Fresh to be crushing, put the ones in the chat. If you want it to be close to even so that it goes to 25K, put 2s in the chat. Wow, 25K bloodbath. I already see that. 3 in the chat if you've wandered in as a DNEG supporter, and we can direct you to the DNEG stream. $69, $420. Okay, I'm gathering a lot of data. So we had a big pot on the left. I'll check out replayer. Just single raise pot. 9762 diamonds. Check call by Doug. 1500. Ace on the turn. Daniel was 3/4 and a call. And then Daniel fired big on third diamond river pairing the board and gets it through. Oh wow, that would have been a really sick play if I just said, hey, anybody who's a Daniel fan, put 3 in the chat, and then we just timed them all out. We're not that petty, not yet. If Doug gets stuck a lot of money, then we might become that petty, and we'll just start banning you guys. So we got Dougie winning 6,500 with the pair of aces on the right. It's making a little bit of a comeback, I'll knock on wood. That one hand is really gross, the cooler, if you guys are just wondering. And now Daniel made quad aces to Doug's rivered nut flush. It's a pretty big pot. Ide has asked, how do you feel if Doug quits after 12.5K hands? I don't think he would. I don't think there's any way he would. So I think if he's down, that this match will go the distance. Okay, asking what's the 12.5k duration. So we've covered this. Doug is winning a $4,500 pot with 10s there on the right. The loser at 12.5k hands can decide to play another 12.5k. The winner has no say. So if the winner doesn't want to play, they still have to play. I suppose they could just sit out. You would just post your blinds for 12,500 hands and lose them. You know. There'd be no reason to do that. Like, there's no side bets between Doug and Daniel on this. It's not like the Galfond challenge where Galfond is laying like 4-1 on all these big side bets. They're just putting up their money and playing each other. Simple as that. On the left, had a flop bet and call. Got about a 5k pot. Doug checks it over to Daniel on the river pair. And it looks like, yep, Daniel had 2 pair on the flop and has Doug beat on the river. Pop and fresh. I'm actually not sure about that. If Doug took any action at 4-1 side bets of people, it's possible. And I know that there are a lot of weird side bets going on. Bill Perkins offered 10-1 to Daniel, but I don't think he's posted what the terms of that were. But part of it was that he would have to play all 25k hands. I think Perkins was trying to incentivize the match going the distance, regardless of who was up halfway through it. So Perkins may have hooked us up with some more of this challenge, a little more entertainment for you guys. Thank you, Perkins. But there also was some weird Twitter battles going on the last 2 days if you want to check it out. I don't know exactly. There was a little bit of controversy regarding what they were allowed to use, if they were allowed to use replayer. Doug was using replayer to write down hands and analyze them. And I think Negreanu was fine with that. They just had to iron out the details. And Perkins went on Twitter with it because he was not fine with it. But I think at this point, everything's cool with everyone. And Perkins is trying to stir the pot a bit to get the Doug versus Bilzerian heads-up match going, which would be the most fun to watch ever. We have Doug on the turn, full pot size bet getting through. 6k going Doug's way. And yeah, Russ, Doug, I can't say your name. Yeah, they have 360 cams in each of their houses so that no shenanigans could happen. And neither player has really expressed any concern about the other cheating as soon as that was in place, so they trust each other. And we have Doug here scooping a $3,000 pot with a pair of 10s. On the left, Daniel's taking down a pot with a 3/4 pot size bet on the turn. Okay, we're not sure. Maybe D-Negs has Bilzerian playing for him right now. You know, maybe there was some kind of clause about any Dan is allowed to take the seat. On the right, another one of these small 20% sorry, about 25% pot c-bets from Daniel, gets called by Doug, and we get to the turn. And 17K in the middle. It's the first big pot in a little while. Oh wow, and a rivered 7 for Daniel. So Doug is definitely beating that by the river, before the river. And I wonder what would have happened if Daniel had not rivered a pair, if we were going to have an old man speeding and a snap off by Doug. But Daniel does river a pair and is able to check and take that down. And switching over to the left table. Did not catch a flop action because we were looking at the right, but 15K in the middle, pretty connected flop, flush draw. And running kings. So you have a small bet, 1/3 pot on the right by Doug, getting raised by Daniel to 4,500. And we have Doug taking down this, it's about 15K, going to his stack on the left. So Doug was inducing with that 1/3 pot size bet on this river here. This is super interesting. I really hope it goes to showdown, unless Doug's bluffing. But I was wondering if that was bait, because that is just such a small size for Doug. We don't see him messing around with like small river sizes quite as much as Daniel has. And Daniel does go for a $4,500 river raise, and Doug snap 17K in the middle. And Doug with the nuts. Wow, that was a really cool play. Nice hand, Doug. He induces, he gets raised, and he gets called on his re-raise. Scooping a really nice pot there. And D-Nex takes down about 9K there. Quick with the replayer. Okay. And he made trip 7s on the turn. We don't get to see Doug's hand. I know chat was asking, you know, if you don't like the replayer, you don't like the software, why are we playing on WSOP? It is the only option. If you're in Las Vegas, it's the only regulated site in Vegas right now. I think eventually the plan was for Party Poker to come here. I think they're able to. They just need to get a license. Then we'd be able to pool New Jersey with, I'm sorry, we'd be able to pool Party Nevada with Party New Jersey. So maybe in the future. But, you know, I'm thankful just to have online poker, be able to live in a place that I want to live. It's not so terrible, but yeah, the replayer sucks. And we have Doug rivering a flush for a $4,300 pot. Vince wants to know why no HUD. You're not allowed to use them on WSOP. It actually tracks. We had some trouble setting up the stream at first because you can't even have Zoom running. If you have Zoom running, they think you're using TeamViewer or whatever to be able to remotely play. They really want to make sure that people are playing only from Nevada and playing on their own accounts. So they don't allow HUDs. They don't allow any shenanigans. It's one of the good parts about WSOP in my opinion. And Daniel's taking down a small pot with a pair of 7s, 2 pair of 7 6s, yeah. Blue issue, I'm with you. Stop the poker battle, put him in the octagon. It'd be a really awkward fight. I don't think I could picture them actually hitting each other. But I mean, I'd watch it, of course. I'd probably bet on it too. Thank you, Joshy T2. Appreciate that. Xena again says Doug would win in a fight. I feel like Doug would win, but I think it would be just a very awkward fight. Like, I'm a fan of UFC, and I just can't really picture either of them putting up a very good fight. But maybe if we talk about it enough, we'll goad them on, and we'll see. So on the right, we have about 80% pot size bet getting called on the turn. 26k pot now going to the river. I will replay this hand, mostly because I was just playing with chat during it. And we have Daniel with the higher pair. It looks like both of them were speeding a little bit. Yeah, Doug had 3-bet and got called. Ace 9 5 2 clubs. Bets and calls the flop, and then checks a Daniel and calls his turn bet. So yeah, Daniel actually made a really good value bet on the turn with his pair of 9s, and Doug calls with his 5s and his beat. And Daniel electing to stab really small at this turn on such a wet board. And Doug instantly, just 18,000, he says. Price of poker has gone up. This board has gotten crazy. 48k in the pot now, and double paired on the river. Doug on the right is winning with his ace of spades, but look what happened here. Wow, so Doug takes that down. Nobody liked that river there. So it looks like king 10 of clubs. So Daniel actually turned the straight to Doug's flush, and action killer card on the river with the queen there, double pairing the board. And that could have been a much bigger pot had that river card been different, but Doug does scoop 48k. I wish I don't really know the rules. Maybe I'll figure it out for next time. If I'm just allowed to read whatever the chat writes, I would have a lot more fun doing commentary. But I think we're supposed to be a little classy on the Upswing channel. So once again, we saw this being Doug inducing on the other table about 15 minutes ago. So he bets 1/3 pot on the left here. See how this one plays out. Last time Daniel raised to 4,500 and Doug re-raised, and Daniel called and Doug was just pretty nutted, so he was actually completely nutted. I think he had the nut straight. So let's see if he's going for the same thing here. Daniel going for a much larger raise size this time. Was Doug inducing again? Doug makes the call, and nice call by Doug. Doug rivers the king. So unclear. I mean, timing-wise, obviously Doug can always still be inducing there and just wait a while to make it look like he's thinking it over when really in his mind he snap called. So that was pretty sweet. So once again, he goes for 1k. Daniel makes it 6k, and Doug gets a lot of value on the river there in such a small pot. So Not sure if this means it is GG for the day, or yeah, that looks like it's it, guys. This has been really fun. Sorry about the audio issues in the beginning. I did my best with very little audio skills. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and it's been really fun talking to you guys. We'll see if we can get some of those hands that were amazing today clipped and maybe put on Twitter. Tomorrow, same time, same place, I think we're having Mike Brady and Primordial AA. So yeah.